The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. Live tonight from ISM Raceway, LSR TV is happy to say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the round of 8 finale and the penultimate race on the 2018 Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series, powered by English Auto LLC, where tonight we're happy to welcome you into LSR TV's coverage of the Phoenix 125, alongside myself, Evan Pasoka, Brian Macklin, Brett Wheeler downstairs. Happy that you're with us at your home for sim racing at the iRacing Esports Network. Brian, 125 laps due up tonight as we get set to crown our Championship 4 grid. We will know we'll fight for a championship next Monday night, and let's take a look at what the English Auto LLC playoff grid looks like coming into this evening. Race wins for Brandon Bowie and Dylan Jones have them in, and it is stupid close from there on back. Eberhardt one above the cut line, a tie 4-5 with Falcon M and Guerrilla, and only 1 point back for Ferdinars, 2 back for Comstock, 4 for Preet. The door is wide open coming into tonight.
Yeah, and we were talking about it prior to the race. It's absolutely incredible to think that the number 88 of Andrew Ferdinars is on the outside looking in coming into tonight's race. He's been so dominant all year long, and now he has got to step up and be that dominant driver that he's been all year long. It's only 1 point. He can make that up on the racetrack, but the best way to do it is go to victory lane here tonight. Guarantees you a spot into the Championship 4.
That's the only way that you know you're going to be in. And when you talk about some of the late-breaking moves here in the championship, unfortunately, a driver not competing this evening is Michael Guerrilla, who actually comes into this tied with the final transfer shot with Daniel Falkenham. He is not able to get into the race tonight. He has a power issue, power outage, so he is unfortunately not going to be able to race. and therefore Michael Guerrilla is going to be eliminated from these 2018 playoffs after doing a good job of fighting through the last couple of rounds. It'll end, unfortunately for him, in the round of 8. That being said, though, everybody else in attendance tonight, let's go trackside. This is your LSR TV starting grid for round number 29. A pole position on this one belonging to Brandon Bowie. His 26.189 the best. Of course, he doesn't need a race win. He's already good to go into the next round. He'll be joined by the one of Daniel Falkenham. That Chevrolet Camaro will roll off in second position. Andrew Farinar's good starting spot as he comes into tonight in the gray. He's third. Dylan Jones will start from fourth position, and David Comstock rounds out your top 5.
Starting in the 6th position here tonight is Jason Jacoby, and then we have one of our championship contenders, Daniel Eberhardt. He starts P7. He is third in the playoff grid right now, 1 point to the good, so not very much breathing room for him. Starting to his outside is Michael Cozy Jr. in the 8th position, and then we have our lowest running playoff contender, Spencer Preet, starting 9th. He is 4 points below the cutoff. He's got his work cut out for him here tonight if he's going to make it into the championship 4. Kyle Kamer starts P10. Then we have Ross Cato, David Washington, Carl Shudd, and Shane Parrish running out this 14-car field. And Evan Basoko, 125 laps and then 125 miles. We are going to know who our championship 4 is. It's going to be a very exciting race. I expect maybe some bent fenders before this thing's all said and done out of these guys.
The mile-long ISM Raceway, of course, for what'll be a third time in what feels like just a handful of years. We are going to see a new iteration of this ISM Raceway on the surface. Maybe by the next time you see a race in a full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series headed into 2019. That being said, though, dogleg at the back straightaway, and a pace car headed down and in as we get set to find out the final 2 names who will fight for the championship next Monday night right here, where we're happy to have you on LSR TV at the iRacing Sports Network. American Ethanol, green flag in the air. Let's go racing for the Phoenix 125. First time at turn 1. Brandon Bowie inside. Tries to hold strong, but it'll be Daniel Falkenham topside. The run down the back straight. Well, look how low they go. All the way down to the inside wall.
They're going to be really careful about going down on the apron. I ran one of these NIS races a few weeks back, and you can damage the car, and it can actually really hurt the handling of the car. So I expect you're going to see these guys be very careful, not do that too often, because it will cause problems to the car. But how about the effort out of that one car of Daniel Falkenham? He was so aggressive on the restart, and he knows what's up for grabs right here. He is holding the final spot in the cutoff or in the championship 4 coming into tonight's race. But the best way to do it is get out front, lead laps, make everybody come to you. And you can see right now, here comes Andrew Freenarch. He is all over the back one for Brandon Bowie, trying to take that second position away.
He's all over him, trying to make a move. Obviously, Farinar's a little bit nervous, although you immediately take Guerrilla out of the equation. Not much of a change, but he still needs to do something with Falkenham. Although as they run, Daniel Eberhardt needs to make up from P6, and he is trying to get around David Comstock. So Eberhardt to the outside at a critical battle for 5th place on track as he tries to go long way around Comstock, who he also needs a good run this evening. Eberhardt is protecting a lead coming into this evening. Of course, Comstock going to need to make some noise. Not happening there. Give one to Eberhardt. He's +2 on the night now, P5. And there's the fight for second to the outside. Brandon Bowie is going to try to hold this off, but Farinar's way low on the back straightaway. They'll be nose to nose in turn 3.
Andrew Freenarch inches ahead in the middle of 3 and 4. Bowie was not able to hold him off, so Freenarch will take that second position away, and now he sets his sights on race leader Daniel Falkenham. But here comes Brandon Bowie back. He got a great run off turn 4. I thought he was going to try the crossover move, but he backs off. He's going to let Freenarch keep that first or second position. And now the battle is on. How long will it take the 88 car to get to Daniel Falkenham? And when he gets there, how aggressive will Falkenham do to try to protect that race lead? This right here is for the spot in the championship 4. Right now, Falkenham has it because he's leading, but if he surrenders that lead to Andrew Freenarch, Freenarch would take that spot in the championship 4 away from him. So this is a very pivotal battle between both these drivers.
A very big battle, and these are battles that we're going to be watching as the night goes on. You want to talk about that a majority of the field in this race, half the field should say, all playoff drivers. Only two of them know their fate, so there is a lot on the line, top to bottom, in this Phoenix 125. A little bit of a breakaway it was for a moment. The top three had started the stretch. Brandon Bowie, though, after getting passed by Farinars, has dropped back a little bit. Jason Jacoby not all that far off of him, as Jacoby's +2. He runs in fourth. And then you find Everhart P5. We just talked about that battle. Comstock behind him in the number 6 position. But Farinars is hungry. There he goes to the inside. It'll be a side-by-side challenge for the race lead. With Farinars low on Falkingham, What Machine's going to be able to get back to the gas sooner. It'll give him a run that time at a turn 4. But the 88 keeps it with him. And we'll see what happens now back into 1 and 2.
This is going to be the hard corner for Falkingham to defend that race lead. The inside line's the preferred groove clutch. You can cut the dog leg right here if you want to. You're going to see the 88 do it. So does Falkingham. I believe Farinars is going to have the advantage when they get down here to turn 3. And Falkingham is going to try to sail it off into the corner, but he's not able to hold on to the race lead. So Farinars now to the point, and this is a big move for that 88 car. As of right now, he's in the championship 4, but Falkingham stays right on his back bumper. And now the question becomes, can he get back to the back bumper of that 88 car and try to take that race lead away? This is a very big battle right here. You can see now Falkingham dives to the bottom of the racetrack trying to cut the dog leg as much as he can. Can't quite get there, so now Farinars has control of this thing.
If Farinars now is an opportunity, go out there, stretch your legs, and enjoy some clean air. We talked about the surprise, even though it was just -1 point, Brian, that Farinars was down in that grade coming into this evening. He has had the best overall playoff performance thus far, winning the round of 16, finishing second in the round of 12. Of course, going to be, if he can advance and out of the 3rd or 4th position, it's going to be, either way, his worst round of results. And competition gets more intense and you need better results the later you go into playoffs. So maybe a win here tonight could not only take care of business, but maybe turn around fortunes a little bit for him. Farinars, we've not seen him in victory lane since Dover. That was only midway through October, so it's not that long ago, but by his standards, that was a 6-race win streak and 7 out of 8 when he absolutely dominated in the late summer months of this 2018 campaign. Since then, it's been Comstock, Everhart, Bowie, and Jones, 4 different drivers to victory lane.
You've got to go all the way back to April, the last time we had 4 different drivers win, none of them being named Andrew Farinars, and that is exactly what we've seen the last 4 weeks. David Comstock, Daniel Everhart, Brandon Bowie, and Dylan Jones winning. That's how dominant that 88 car has been all year. But I don't want to give this race to him just because he's the race leader right now. I expect a couple of these guys that are in the back maybe trying to make up something here. They might take some gambles here at the end of this thing. If you're a David Comstock or a Spencer Preet, or maybe even a Daniel Everhart who doesn't necessarily have the fastest car here tonight, you're going to have to do something different on strategy. Maybe go for 2 tires, maybe try to short pit and use fresh tires to your advantage. You're going to have to do something different, especially if you're one of these guys on the outside looking in, because you cannot just sit back here and let Andrew Farinars run away with this thing, because you know that's a championship spot being taken away.
And we're going to watch these battles unfold throughout the night. Battle back in the pack for P10 is where one of the fights is now. Ross Cato in the 12, trying to hold off the 98 of David Washington. Washington, of course, not fighting this time around for a championship, like we normally see him this time of year on the Monday nights at the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series. He is trying to gain a 2nd spot on the night. Cato doesn't want to lose the 2nd one, but he will. So the inside, once again, place to be. And next car up, Carl Shen, a little bit of a 3-car skirmish mid-pack. There's a battle closer to the front, though. Spencer Preet comes into this race 4 below the cut line. Doesn't sound that bad, but he is 8th out of 8 drivers to the points, and he is side-by-side with Dylan Jones right now. The 11 machine has not had a hot start. Doesn't need it. Doesn't matter to him. Let's see if Preet maybe outwills him in this battle as he tries to give a nose to the inside down into corner number 3.
And you can see these guys are moving all around the racetrack down here in 3 and 4. Dylan Jones, David Comstock on the outside line, and they're going to have the big run off of turn 4 right here. Spencer Preet will not be able to win that battle between him and the 11 car, as he just was not able to get the power down off the corner. That moves that Dylan Jones machine up into the 7th spot, who now sets his sights on the 42 of David Comstock. He's got a great run coming off turn 2, sails off into the inside of that 42 car, but now Comstock's going to have, I believe, the preferred groove down here in 3 and 4. He gives up a lot of speed in the middle of the corner, but right here on corner exit, that's where he's really going to be able to get the power down. He's able to clear that 11 car and hold on to the 6th position for the moment. Now he's trying to drive away. Once again, you see Spencer Preet was able to get back to the outside of that 11 car. Can he make it work down here in 1 and 2? It doesn't look like it. He overdrove the corner. Jones is able to hold on to P7.
So it's good work by Dylan Jones. He's been tumbling down the standings, and again, he doesn't really need anything. Of course, you could argue you need a good finish tonight, carry momentum into Homestead, Miami next week, but his race win took care of business from last week at Texas Motor Speedway. He's good. Certainly Comstock, really old drivers around him need that position more, and maybe not 18 laps into a 125 lap contest, but maybe a little bit later on. Certainly that will and that drive might power you to have an advantage in some of the battles with drivers who don't necessarily need that spot as much as you do. We are really starting to see those separation for the first time tonight up front for Radars now. His gap last time by, get to update on the scoring, 1.2 seconds atop of Daniel Falkenham in second, Brandon DeBowie third, Jacoby up to P4, and Eberhardt still there in the number 5 spot. So maybe a couple of those positions that we always expect on the open run, Brian, to get ironed out after drivers in qualifying, not necessarily getting what they wanted, vice versa, drivers out qualifying to maybe what their car is pretty quickly. Now 19 laps into this race, looks like a lot of drivers settling in besides maybe the back few or so. Handful of cars back there still not necessarily on the same page.
Yeah, you've got everybody just trying to get into a rhythm. This is a track that you stop racing the cars around you and you just start racing the track itself, because it can be pretty tricky with 2 different corners down in 1 and 2 and then 3 and 4, plus you have the dog leg on the backstretch. So it's one of those places that you really just have to get into a rhythm and just focus on hitting your marks and let the race come to you. I was just doing some number crunching that I was working on with Andrew Freenarge leading this thing right now. Obviously, he's holding the 3rd spot in the championship. That 4th spot right now would actually go to Daniel Falkenham. He came into this race 1 point behind Daniel Eberhardt. He is currently 3 spots ahead of him on the racetrack, so he has a 2-point buffer over that 90 car right now. That's not good if you're at Daniel Eberhardt, because you need to try to get up there and chase that 1 car down and try to get ahead of him.
That's the objective, just get him 1 spot at a time, and well, over the course of 125 miles, you'll get a couple of opportunities to get spots like that. Battle is on. Comstock Preet right now 7 and 8. Thought maybe that 37 Chevy was going to go to the bumper there, but probably a little bit early still at this juncture, but Spencer Preet really needs to dig himself out of a hole. He is chasing down Comstock at the points. Comstock is in front of him on a racetrack. He's chasing down 48 hours at the points. 48 hours in front of him on a racetrack. You get the trend. So is Falkenham, and so is Daniel Eberhardt. So 37 Spencer Preet would not gain anything. I guess he would pass Guerrilla, who again doesn't make a start. And Guerrilla will be eliminated from the playoffs after tonight. But other than that, Spencer Preet dead last. Your playoff drivers, he needs to get going here. And I'm sure he's sweating. I know it's early on. You see Washington to the inside of Cosi behind. But Spencer Preet, certainly not the opening exchange I think he was hoping for. And he got a little bit tight that time at a turn 4. Had to get way out of the throttle. And side-by-side battle behind him catches right up to him.
And that great battle going on behind him. 77 car of Michael Cosi, David Washington on the bottom of the racetrack trying to take that spot. That's for 9th and 10th here on the track. These guys battling hard. Neither one of these guys are playoff contenders, so they're out here just trying to put themselves in a position to maybe steal a win and get a win from one of these playoff contending drivers. We haven't seen that in quite a while, but just doing their thing. As you see, David Washington is able to take that 9th position away from the 77 car of Michael Cosi Jr. And already 25 laps into this race, they're clicking off pretty fast. And right now, Andrew Freenarge is clicking off faster than anything. Nothing has changed at the front of the field. He has a 1.7 second advantage over the 1 car of Daniel Falkenham. And then it's 2.1 back to Brandon Bowie. So that 88 car has rose to the occasion like I think we all expected him to. He was in a little bit of a box coming into tonight's race, but he was not backing down at all.
He has certainly figured out whatever the issue was, and a little bit of bad luck here or there certainly is attributed to Freenarge's, I'm not sure if lack of success is the right way to put it. Again, all your playoff drivers so close on the points coming into this evening that nobody has really been bad. It's just a matter of, the bar is way up there. You've got some drivers who just barely squeaked in some of the lower positions for the round of 16 to round of 12. Doing absolutely great in this round. Dylan Jones, particularly with that win. Daniel Eberhardt, somebody else who has really stepped it up and had a great overall playoff for him after, being in the bottom half earlier in the year, and comes into this one as the top points getter. But Freenarge's leading is a big asterisk on what the live points would look like, Brian, because if Funkadam goes on and, you know, isn't able to catch Freenars goes for the race win, it bumps everybody down. So all of a sudden, Daniel Eberhardt's 1-point lead over Funkadam is no longer the difference between third and fourth. It becomes the difference between fourth and being in and fifth and being out. And right now, with Eberhardt running in fifth position, Funkadam in second, the one car would be, I think, that final transfer spot.
He would indeed. He'd have a 2-point cushion over Daniel Eberhardt as they stand right now. And then, of course, Comstock and Spencer Preet are down below the line at this point of the race. And if this thing stays green, it's going to make it pretty difficult to do any type of a strategy call to try to steal something, especially if you are a David Comstock or a Spencer Preet. You're already almost 5 seconds behind the race leader. Your only gamble that you'd be able to take is going to be to try to pit a little early and see if you can't steal something from him with some extra or fresh tires a little bit earlier than everybody else. But other than that, there's really not going to be anything to go and do if you stay green this entire race. It's going to be pretty tough to make up that kind of time.
And certainly just kind of going through the field here and watching if anybody else is, you know, maybe better on a very long run, then that certainly could be an option. Also, green flag racing, we've seen a ton of it. It's left the door wide open many times, Brian, for strategy to be a factor. What could be the calls tonight? You're talking about a 125-lap race right now. We're at lap 30, which is, for all intended purposes, a lap or two away from being quarter distance in this one. What are the main strategy options, and could somebody possibly swing one on the short side or one on the extra side to mix things up if they feel, you know, like they're just kind of running around? If you're mid-pack, you're 5 seconds off of the race leader. If something doesn't change, you got to try something.
I mean, it's one of those things that's going to be pretty difficult. Like I said, if you're David Comstock, if you're Spencer Preet, your best bet's going to be to try to short pit, take advantage of the fresh tires, see if you can't make up a little bit of time. Right now, these guys are almost 2 full seconds slower than they were at the drop of the green flag. So if you were to come in around this time and get fresh tires, it'd be a pretty big advantage. The problem is you cannot make it to the end from here. I think these guys are going to try to make it a one-stop strategy. You can go about 65, 70 laps on a tank of gas here at Phoenix. So if they can go about that far and then pit, you can make it to the end. So basically, if you pit around lap 60, you should be able to make it to the finish without having to pit again. With no threat of overtime rules here in iRacing, you don't have to worry about that. So maybe pit a few laps early, take advantage of those fresh tires, see if you can't get a jump on Andrew Freenars, and then you're just going to have to play defense for the second half of the race.
And all of these thoughts going through drivers' minds still early on in this one, but class of the field is certainly Freenars. Funkadam kind of a little bit ahead, I guess, of the rest of the pack, but it looks like Brandon Bowie almost the race into bids entry. Brian scored right now third position. He's getting slowly caught up to Jason Jacoby. We'll give it a shout out to the driver who started sixth and currently runs in fourth a couple of times already, but he has quietly been picking away, maybe more so Bowie dropping back to him, but I mean, the 7 machine is there. Eberhardt's not going to be all that far behind either, so again, this does not matter for Brandon Bowie. He is already in, but that is a critical point that Daniel Eberhardt would love to gobble up.
And Jason Jacoby has really been probably the biggest threat to all of these playoff drivers throughout the entire playoff run. He has had speed at pretty much every single racetrack. He's almost won a couple of these races. I look back to Las Vegas being the one that maybe he should have won, but had a speeding penalty on pit road. And then Dover, even. He was very fast at Dover and then had some mechanical issues. The car shut off on him, and he just was not able to stay on the lead lap because of that. So there's been some things that have plagued him and kept him away from being able to win a race. But this has been a guy who's been right there. And honestly, if you're one of these playoff drivers, you're probably thankful he's not in the playoffs because of how fast he's been. He's definitely one of those guys that maybe could have been a spoiler in making it into the championship for had he been here all season long. But he's doing a good job right now. Like you said, he's up to that 4th position. He is closing in on the back bumper of Brandon Bowie. And I've been looking at his lap times. He's been running pretty comparable lap times to the race leader, about a half a tenth slower than in that last time by. But when he gets into clean air, it looks like Jason Jacoby might have similar speed to that number 88 car.
And if that is the case long term, certainly his 6th place at the grid hurts him. It puts him at a disadvantage to start. And the last time by, Freenar still a tenth a second better, but Jacoby's in traffic. So if he can get by Bowie here, then it would really give us a better read on what that long run speed is. You can do it. 125 laps, you get a little bit every single time around. 4 seconds is a whole, certainly, but don't say it's impossible, as Jason Jacoby, as you mentioned, one of the best non-playoff drivers we've seen over the course of this postseason. Went way down to the inside in turn 1 using the is effectively the apron down there, but to help these cars rotate, go way down, of course, they'll cut the dog leg once more. Note the changes throughout the middle portion of the pack as we continue to watch the battle for third brew, and they are only getting furthermore off Freenars. He's the best car on track. Daniel Falkendam in second. Freenars just got better that last time by than what his handful of previous laps had been with the 27.9 compared to the Falkendam in second with the 28.0. So he's only getting better.
And we almost had an accident in the third and fourth position right there, or fourth and fifth rather. Jason Jacoby and Daniel Eberhardt were racing side by side. Jacoby had a real big issue off turn 4 a lap ago. He gave up a ton of time to that 90 car. Eberhardt sailed it off into turn 1, and he actually made contact with a 7 car and sent it up the track. They almost spun out coming off turn 2. Eberhardt managed to hang on to it, but he did give up a ton of time to the number 7 machine. But a very scary moment for one of our playoff contenders. And this is something that if you're Daniel Eberhardt, you cannot do. You are not racing Jason Jacoby for a championship. You're not racing him for a spot in the championship 4. You are racing the 1 car. You're racing that 37 and the 42. Those are the guys you need to be focused on beating, not the 7 car.
And that's exactly what these drivers have to think about. We even saw just last night, or even over the course of the weekend, I think in the Xfinity Series race leader funning for a championship kind of got Cole Custer was too busy thinking about racing for the race win that he was worried about racing against his other championship competitors. You kind of forget about what the main objective is. So certainly these playoff drivers, those still in a round of 8, Jones, Eberhardt, I should say Jones, Bowie in, but it is Eberhardt, Falkendam, Freenars, Comstock, Preet all fighting for 2 remaining positions. They first and foremost have to focus on the rest of those cars around them. Jacoby is broken free of the battle for second and third, and now a caution flag is out. First time tonight, you're under caution flying conditions.
And that was our second place runner, Daniel Falkingham. Not sure if he had issues with the car or what happened, but he just came to a stop down on the dog leg on the backstretch. And unfortunately, that brings out the caution, but a huge mistake or problem for the 1 car. And you see the replay on your screen now. It just looks like the car shut off coming off of turn 2. He pulled it down to the apron on the dog leg, and unfortunately, that might be the end of his run trying to make it into the championship 4 here tonight, as we have our first caution of the evening on lap number 43 here at Phoenix.
Yet certainly the way it looks now after Guerrilla isn't able to make a start, and then Daniel Falkendam was running in second position and some sort of an error with him. Those are the 2 cars who were 4th and 5th tied for the final transfer spot into the next round, appear to be out of this race. Guerrilla with the DNS, and maybe a DNF. If we find out shortly, we'll let you know what the deal is with Daniel Falkendam. Race leaders, though, down to the pit lane. Pit lane open for the first time tonight at lap number 44. Restart will be inside of 80 laps to go, and an opportunity for some of those cars just off of the race lead to make some noise as we look for some clean pit stops.
Everybody's going to be down here, and I think with the long green flag run that we just had, you're going to see everybody go for 4 tires and fuel, but it looks like there might have been a mistake on the part of the 90 car. I think he missed his box down here coming in. It looks like he just did not get into his box at all. I also think I saw the number 43 slide through, so a couple of issues down here on pit road, but now you can see everybody getting down and away. Looks like Andrew Freenars will win the race off. Bowie somehow still manages to come out in second, and then Jason Jacoby will come out in the 3rd position right there. But big mistake for the 90 car, Daniel Eberhardt, because he's almost certainly going to have to come back down the pit road.
And it's not how it was planned for Daniel Eberhardt in the number 90 Ford, and it is not the the same pit road that you'll see at the new Phoenix. The new Phoenix, which again I'm sure will be on the iRacing service sometime next year. It is a much tighter pit road. That being said, Brian, it is still very challenging because you're on that curve all the way through. And running on the board here, I was just taking a look to see what Eberhardt was thinking, and where he missed the pit stall. It almost looked like that Jason Jacoby's machine kind of blocked his view. He couldn't see his pit stall because that car was there, and then by the time he realized he had to go left, it was too late, so he does come back down this time, and it'll send a driver that desperately needs a good night all the way down into the back.
It looks like as we're about to go back green, Daniel Falkingham might be okay. He's still not on the racetrack, but it looks like he was having some connection issues at Pasoko. He's currently 2 laps down. But he should be able to get back onto the racetrack with no damage on his car. That's going to be a good thing. But the problem is 2 laps down in a race that doesn't really have a feel for a lot of cautions. It's going to be hard for him to make those laps back up and get back to where he was running prior to this happening.
If he can get back on track, he'll be about 3 laps down because we're getting set to restart. He might actually stay only 2 down. He's in his pit stall, but up front, pace car added in, and Andrew Farina says goodbye. Green flag in the air, 40 laps to go, or I should say 80 down, 45 completed in this race with 80 laps to go. It's all Farinar's. Great jump for him. And Brandon Bowie, good defensive second after it looked like Jason Jacoby was going to have a big run. The 7 was very timid into the quarter, and at 43 will maintain second.
Yeah, he's a very big run for that number 43 car, but how about what's going on behind them as David Comstock all of a sudden is finding himself moving up through the field as he got a pretty good restart right there. He's up to 4th position on the racetrack, and Spencer Preet, who was towards the front of this field, he's all the way back in 12th now, so a big shake-up here on this restart, but this is going to change the entire complexion of the playoff grid with Daniel Eberhardt being in the back. And actually, he's already back up to 7th, so he is charging his way through the field in a hurry, trying to make up the spots that he lost by missing his pit box on that most recent stop on pit road as he just passed the number 45 car of Carl Shedd. That's going to move him up to 6th, so that number 90 car is not playing. He knows how much time he gave up and how important it is to get back to the front.
And we'll see how all of this plays out. Certainly a long run might be beneficial. If Eberhardt's got faith in a long-run speed, good news is for him, again, he's already back at the P6, so could be a lot worse. I'd almost think, though, maybe a 20-30 lap run or so, get a spot or two, then another yellow to group everybody back up might be the best because obviously you're working from such a deficit that it is going to be difficult to make up 5 spots in a 2-second gap. But the constant up front is that it is still Fernando's leading to Brandon Bowie in second. And we'll see with Jason Jacoby on the back of the 43 machine if that 7 can make a move now, or if we'll have to wait another 35 laps or so and see if it is just that Ford being very good on the long run, or if it's just overall more speed.
Well, I definitely think it was a combination of both. I think he's really good on the long run. I think he's also just got more speed than these guys right now. He is driving away from everybody right now, and the only person that I really felt like was keeping some kind of a pace to him was Jason Jacoby, and he was even having a hard time right before that caution came out. Might have been because he was still fighting with the 43 car, Brandon Bowie, maybe just because he doesn't have that clean air, but really nobody at this point has been able to keep pace with that 88 car all night long, and it's going to be very difficult for him to, or for these guys to keep up with him. Now that we've had that one caution to kind of split things up and it gets everybody bunched back up and they're not all spread out like they were prior to that caution, if you are a guy like Spencer Preet or David Comstock, this is going to be your opportunity to try to make a strategy call. You're still going to have to come to pit road one more time to make it to the end of this race. You cannot go all the way to the checkered flag. So now what do you do on strategy? Do you split this thing up? I think if you're David Comstock, Spencer Preet, force the hand of the other playoff drivers, come to pit road at the halfway point of this run, come at 40 laps into this run and split it up 40-40. That way you get the fresh tires. If Eberhardt and all these other drivers would like to stay out there, you could potentially make up a ton of time and make it very hard for them to catch back up to you.
And that's the goal, is you want to run your race, but at the same time know that, run out there, make those other drivers push the issue. Don't sit back. Don't save too much. And, of course, we're talking about round number 29 on a 2018 campaign that sees 30 total races. Last race of the year comes to you next Monday night from Homestead, Miami. It is the championship 4 finale of this full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series powered by English Auto LLC. At this point, Brian, these drivers know one another. There's still some question marks. They would like a Jason Jacoby, who is still relatively new, has made some limited starts. Of course, started racing with us at Monday nights at the start of segment number 3. He tries to go to the inside of Bowie. So maybe there's still some questions there, but these drivers know who tends to be better on the short runs, who tends to be better on the long runs, vice versa, all that good stuff. And I mean, when you know who you're racing against, certainly you can formulate a strategy a tad bit better.
Absolutely, and these guys know who Jason Jacoby is too. I mean, we've raced with him on the iRacing service for a long time. He's new to the league, but not new to the service. And Brandon Bowie and all these drivers, they know who he is and how he races. And Jacoby is a pretty respectful guy, and he understands the situation of what's going on around him. He knows that guys like Freenarge and Bowie are racing for a championship, and he's not going to put himself in a spot that's bad. Meanwhile, though, we got to focus on the battle for 4th position right now, as Comstock has it, but Dylan Jones and Eberhardt won it. Looks like Comstock is beginning to fade. It was about this point of the run last time where that 42 car really started to struggle, and it looks like those struggles are coming back because here comes Dylan Jones with a big run off turn 2. Now he dives to the dog leg, looks to the inside of that 42 car. Can he make it work down here on the bottom of the racetrack? Comstock's going to pinch him down, try to use the outside line with that momentum and see if he can hang on to that fourth spot. It's very important that he tries to do this right here. This is potentially a spot into the final four, and he's able to hang on now as he holds off that 11 car for just a little while longer.
Yeah, the 11 doesn't stand to gain anything from this, but of course the 42 stands to lose that critical point, which is what makes the battle right now for 4th and 5th so exciting. And don't tell Dylan Jones he doesn't need it. He'll go way to the inside, get a nose there on the quarter panel. 42 should stand a fighting chance at getting the run out of turn 4 here on the outside, and he does. In fact, it'll be a good enough a run to clear the 11, which will certainly make his life a lot easier. Holding off and playing defense topside is a lot difficult at this end of the racetrack in 1 and 2 compared to down at the opposite end in 3 and 4. So Comstock will stay 4th on the scoring pylon to see another day. We'll see how long it lasts, though.
The way it stands right now, doing the math, if the math is correct, Daniel Eberhardt holds that final transfer spot into the final 4 by 1 point over David Comstock. So this is very critical for that 42 car. He needs to keep Dylan Jones and Eberhardt behind him. You're on board with the 90 car Daniel Eberhardt right now. He needs to keep both those cars behind him, but he also has to try to go up there and chase down Jason Jacoby or Brandon Bowie, try to take one of those positions away, but it's going to be hard to do that when you're side by side with Dylan Jones. Once again, he's on the outside line. Can Comstock hold him off? This is very important. Jones knows how important it is for his teammate. He's going to try to be aggressive to try to take that position away from Comstock as well, but he's not able to do it. Comstock holds on for a little while longer, but this is a very, very big battle right here for these guys.
Critical, and with Eberhardt right there, he's got a front row seat at it. Coming into tonight, Comstock had a, what was a 3-point disadvantage to Daniel Eberhardt in the points. And you can see Eberhardt right there at Donnie running 2 points behind him. 2 positions and 2 points means that Donnie, as you mentioned, Brian, 1 to the good as they sit now. That is, of course, with Falkendam and Guerrilla. Having had poor nights, Daniel Falkendam has been able to make it back to the racetrack, but he is 3 laps down in 14th. And it would need a lot of luck to be able to get back into this. Now, here's a move from Jones again, but it's going to come in 3 and 4. He has so far been unsuccessful. Is he going to be able to do it this time? No.
And that outside line just proves to be so strong down in turns 3 and 4 because you have that straight run off of turn 4. You're able to get back into the gas sooner than the guy on the bottom, and you just get that momentum coming off the corner, and that's exactly what we've seen Comstock do lap after lap now for about 10 laps or so. He's been doing this. You see Jones now tried to sneak to the outside. Eberhardt maybe trying to do the same thing. It's not going to work, though, as he's going to have to go back to the bottom of the racetrack. And it looks like we just had a change for 2nd and 3rd. Jason Jacoby just moved ahead of Brandon Bowie to take that 2nd position away. Now you see these guys are beginning to fall back to Comstock, and this battle looks like maybe these 3 cars are running quicker than Jason Jacoby and Brandon Bowie while racing hard for position.
A lot on the line here, as you can see the 11 Bashida Jones trying to close this thing out. He's gotten many of opportunities, but I mean, just cannot get that little bit extra, and Dylan Jones really needs to get back and around the 42 because Daniel Eberhardt now breathing down his neck in the number 90 machine. It's not over yet. Don't give it the Comstock, but that outside should be more difficult than it is. Jones is getting pulled back about even with him as he goes down into the dogleg, has the inside line. If the 42 is to clear, it may just happen this time. The pinch a little bit low off the turn, and there it is. Comstock through and into 4th position.
And Comstock, I was just doing a little bit of research. He's got more work to do than just holding these 2 cars off and passing one of the guys in front of him, because right now, if he was to tie with Daniel Eberhardt, which passing one of the 2 guys in front of him would do, Daniel Eberhardt would hold the tiebreaker. So he has got to get ahead of both of the drivers in front of him, try to make sure that he has a point to the good on the number 90 car, Daniel Eberhardt. He's got to try to get past both Brandon Bowie and Jason Jacoby. We have just passed the halfway point of this race, or we're about to pass the halfway point of this race, so he's got his work cut out for him. He's got to get up on the wheel in this 2nd half.
You got to get up and get going 2nd half of the race from this point on, as we have crossed the halfway point in tonight's Phoenix 125. We'll keep an eye on the battle, but let's take a look at our iRacing, the midway race break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, and many more. At lap 67, it is Andrew Ferinars leading this race 4 seconds ahead of now second-place runner Jason Jacoby, and then it's a mess from there on back. So far, Bowie pole sitter in third, just ahead of Comstock fourth, Dylan Jones fifth. Looks to the inside, but isn't going to be able to make a move, and Daniel Everhart is also right there. The 90 car scored in 6th position. Behind them, Michael Cozy Jr. runs in 7th spot. Carl Sheds up to 8th. Steve Washington behind him up to 9th. Good gains for those two cars, and Spencer Preet rounds out your top 10.
11th goes to Kyle Kamer. Shane Parrish is running P12 right now. Ross Cato is 13th, and now 3 laps down, and certainly looking to be in trouble in this playoff battle is Daniel Falkingham in 14th. His connection issues have plagued him. He was running second when that happened, but that's been a look at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com to sign up today. And got to go back to this battle. It's from second on back to about the 5th position, 6th position right now. These 5 cars, you could throw a blanket over top of all of them, Evan Pasoko. They are racing very hard, and each of them knows what is up for grabs and what is at stake. And right now, if you're David Comstock, you're racing for your virtual life. He's doing everything he can to hold that 11 and 90 car behind him.
And of course, Comstock comes into this. We've been talking about the playoff picture all night from a point of weakness. He has to not only have a good result, but if it's not a race win, he needs to have the drivers around him at points not do so good. And of course, Dylan Jones, thorn in his side here, trying to go back up the inside of the racetrack and get that number 4 spot right back. Just as quick as that number 42 machine was able to, at what looked like, solidify himself in that position. Everhart in number 7 or 6 spots just behind, should say, sorry, Dylan Jones in 5th. All these drivers, 1 point could be the difference. And as we approach now, what is at about 10 laps, going to be the longest green flag run of the night. Brian, 1 pit stop, I would assume, to make it to the end, still due up.
Yeah, and I really believe that you're going to see these guys, or at least some of these guys, split this race right down the middle and pit at the halfway point of this run and make it 40 laps from the start and then 40 laps to the finish. Especially if you're one of these drivers right here in this cluster of drivers, I think you need to try to do something to try to separate yourself from everybody else. You know, try to get ahead. David Comstock obviously has not had the fastest car here. He is defending this 4th position, but is definitely holding up the guys behind him. So he's got to find a way to try to hold on to this thing. It's going to be very difficult to do. I think you might want to see him come to pit road just a couple of laps early, see if he can't gap these guys, get ahead of them, and then try to play defense for the rest of this race.
A lot of options, and well, majority of the field. I mean, third, even count second. Jason Jacoby second through Carl Shed in 9th. So basically 3/4, 2/3 of the field, whatever you want to say. They're only separated by right now 3 seconds. So there's a lot going on mid-pack. Of course, that it is a big jump of 5 from Fernandez leading to Jacoby in second. So we had questioned a little bit after we saw Jacoby start P6, Brian, and you know, when he had picked up to 5th, 4th, and 3rd, you know, what would that clean air maybe do for the 70 car? And I mean, he's good. He's pulling away from the rest of the cars by just a little bit, but it's clear, at least at this juncture, he's not, and nobody is Farinar's good.
And that's been the case all season long. We've talked about how dominant that 88 car has been, and it came to be such a surprise that he'd even be on the outside looking in coming into tonight's race after the season that he's had. As you mentioned, he swept the round of 16, won all 3 of those races, had a win in the round of 8, and just has been subpar in this round. He got caught up in a crash at Martinsville, had some issues at Texas that kept him from getting the finish. I think he ran out of gas coming to the checkered flag and gave up a lot of points. And just as a result of that, has not had the round of 4, or round of 8, rather, that you would expect him to have. But now he's doing what we expected him to do this entire playoff run. He's out front. He's got 5 seconds over second place. And right now, he's in the best position he could possibly be in. But we cannot hand this thing to him yet, because he has got to have a flawless round of pit stops when we get to him, whether it be under green or under the circumstances of us having a caution. He cannot make any mistakes. He cannot speed on pit road and give up track position. And you certainly cannot slide through your box or do anything that's going to cost you time on pit road.
You got to be perfect, and oftentimes it's a lot easier said than done. Mistakes could be the difference. Not only tonight, but of course you want to talk about points being tonight, emphasizing that 3rd through 8 were separated by 5 points. Well, your championship 4 next week obviously going to be tied. Bonus points, none of that matters. You just have to beat the other 3 if you want to be the 2018 Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series champion. So mistakes and that pressure, it builds. And these drivers have been in some pressure-packed situations. I don't think that anybody is immune to mistakes. We've seen some of the most consistent drivers slip up. It happens. But the question is, can you not psych yourself out? Don't overthink it. And just go out there and race. If you think too much about being careful, if you're a little bit too careful into the box sometimes, Brian, if you're a little bit too careful into pit road, it's almost reverse psychology. You almost make a mistake by thinking about how not to make one so hard.
Well, while we're talking about that, Brandon Bowie has actually already made his pit stop. He's coming off of pit road right now, so he's going to be the first of our front runners to make that trip down the pit road. And looking at his pit stop, it looks like he went for just 2 tires. So a very interesting call on that number 43 car. And now I'm curious to see what the rest of these playoff contenders and what the rest of these drivers do. You see David Washington making his way to pit road, but very interesting things going on right now between all of these drivers.
Yeah, a little bit early than I think what we may have been expecting. This race restarted at lap number 45 with 45 laps down. And no more than 35 laps later, it is a rush down to the pit lane, with this race still having on the 45 lap to go side of things. So a little bit early from the split. And obviously the short pit call, one that I'm always a fan of, but you have to balance it the right way. You're going to get fresh tires sooner, you're going to be faster sooner, and you're going to put time on the rest of the cars by the time they come down in pit. But you're going to be slower at the end of the run. That could certainly be bad news if this race were to get a caution flag. And of course, you are a lap down if you're buoying any of these other cars, so that's a concern. You hold your breath and hope that this thing cycles to an extra 5-10 laps so you're okay.
Well, if you're Brandon Bowie, it really doesn't matter at this point, because you know you're going to Homestead, Miami next week with a shot to win the championship. This is all about just trying to get another win, see if you can steal that victory away from the 88 car of Andrew Freenarge. Oh, as he almost makes contact with his teammate. Comstock had big issues off of turn 2. I think he might have made a little bit of contact with that turn 2 wall. He did, and he came down, almost hit the 43 car. That cost him a ton of speed. That also cost Comstock a ton of speed, but he was somehow able to hold on and keep ahead of the number 90 car of Daniel Eberhardt. But he's got heavy right side damage on that 42 machine.
Yeah, heavy damage, not good, certainly. And we'll see if it is going to be an aerodynamic problem. Phoenix doesn't tend to be one of the most aerodynamically sensitive racetracks on the calendar, but you don't help yourself, and I think he's lucky that that wasn't an accident, as he nearly came down on Bowie. And those two drivers, speaking of Bowie, Jason Jacoby just absolutely uses Brandon Bowie up, and apologized for it on the radio, but Bowie didn't appreciate that one, and then I think is kind of begging for mercy. The 7's going to let him go, and it'll be Bowie trying to pass through on the inside. Faster car, lapped car, gets around the 7 to Jacoby, who's still on track in second.
And Jason Jacoby is 6 seconds behind the race leader. And so now what do you do if you're one of these drivers that, trying to chase down Andrew Freenarge? You're obviously not succeeding at that. What do you do differently? Do you make a call like Brandon Bowie to take 2 tires? But my thing is, if you want those 2 tires to be beneficial, you need to do it a couple of laps sooner than Andrew Freenarge comes to pit road, because if he takes 4 tires and you take 2, right now he's basically going to come out on the racetrack at the same spot that you are. It's not really going to benefit you at this point. I think Brandon Bowie made the right call, because he's been out there for 4 or 5 laps already, and he has made up a ton of time. He most likely will cycle out to be our race leader when it's all said and done. Now, whether or not he's able to hold on to that, we'll have to wait and see. But I certainly think he's in a pretty good spot at this point of the run.
And I'm not at all surprised that that kind of a strategy play comes from Brandon Bowie. Like I said, he's not in a position like these other cars. When you're Comstock, Eberhardt, Jones, you're so close to one another. You almost just have to go out there to race them. Their cars are so even. You want fate to be in your hands. I feel like if you're in that pack, you control your destiny. The cars are right there. Do something with them. Bowie, on the other hand, of course, with that race win, he doesn't care what happens in this race. He wants to win it. It's not going to give him any sort of bonus point advantage, but a race win's all he cares about, so he can take that gamble. Maybe that's the difference between seeing him already come down to the pit lane and some of these other drivers having stayed out, although there are guys on points who have made that decision. Spencer Preet mainly one of them. He is trying to work by your lead cars now after already pitting. He's taking a short pit swing for the fence into pit road this time. No, I thought Eberhardt was coming in. He went low, but I guess it was just a real cut of the corner in turn 4. Donati stays out for another lap. We have now entered past that halfway halfway point on this run. We've run more than 40 laps since we restarted. There are less than 40 laps to go in the race, and right on cue, Andrew Farinars will pit for the race lead. An astounding 7-second advantage is what he'll give up. Jacoby Moraines on a racetrack. The 7 going to lead his first lap of the night.
And now for the rest of the field, you have to stay out here as long as you can. At this point, if I'm Jason Jacoby, if I'm David Comstock, any of these drivers that are still out here, I'm going to run this thing out of fuel, because now you have an opportunity to trap Andrew Freenarge a lap down, and that's the goal that you want to try to make right here. So if you can stay out there, put him a lap down, and then somehow catch a caution, this puts you in a really good spot. It hurts his chances of winning the race, hurts his chances to make it into the final 4, and gives everybody else a shot at the victory here today. So the strategy just has to change right now if you're any of these drivers. Maybe not if you're David Comstock or one of these guys battling for a spot in the playoffs, but if I'm Jason Jacoby, I'm running this thing out of gas.
We'll see if that's what the 7 decides to do. Just go all the way. He, on the opposite end of the spectrum of Bowie, of course, Jacoby not in the playoffs, not with a race win yet on a Monday nights, but also with nothing to lose. We've seen Bowie pit. Jacoby could do the opposite and just decide to not yet to come down. You'll see them work around the one machine lap traffic. Daniel Falkenham is going to fall a 3rd lap down. Of course, he was running in 2nd position. And after the fact that the driver he was tied with, Michael Guerrilla, didn't make the start, it was set up for him to move on. It may be bad luck that takes 2 drivers out of the playoffs. We knew Guerrilla, and it seems like with a lack of caution flags, Falkenham is not going to be able to get back into this thing, and he'd be the 2nd casualty.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate for that number 1 car. He had such a good run going tonight and looked like he might be able to race his way into the championship 4, but unfortunately does not look like that's going to happen. Running out of time to get his 2 laps back, and he's got guys ahead of him that are now a lap down, so it makes it that much harder for him to get one of those laps back right now should a caution come out. So definitely not looking good for him right now. But now I'm just waiting to see what's going to go on with the rest of these drivers here, as it looks like Jason Jacoby is going to go against what I was saying. He's on pit road now. Definitely not the call I expected out of that 7 car. That moves Comstock to the race lead with Daniel Eberhardt right behind them. Now the question becomes, how long do you wait if you are these 3 drivers? Are you going to try running out of gas, or are you just going to stay out here and hope for a caution? It's going to be very difficult, but side by side now, as Eberhardt looks like he's going to get to the outside of that 42 car. Oh, Comstock drives it into the corner and runs him up into the wall, and now they're 3 wide coming off turn 4.
3 wide into turn 4 and landing inside all on his own. Kyle Kamer lapped car right in the middle of things as David Comstock and Daniel Eberhardt fight for the race lead. And of course, what's on the line? A race win and the automatic ticket into the championship 4. Do these drivers continue to push? And again, you're racing each other now, Brian. You're almost certainly going to be a mile behind Brandon Bowie by the time he gets back out there. And if these drivers were to pit, certainly doesn't seem like the greatest idea. So are they going for broke down for the race winners? Now Jones on the inside. He'll take critical points away from the 42 car.
And with Eberhardt out in front, Comstock is looking at the championship hopes slipping away from him, because now he is not in a position to make it in. He would actually be ahead of Andrew Freenarge, but we know Freenarge is on fresher tires, and he is only 18 seconds behind him. Now it looks like Eberhardt's coming to pit road, so he's going to surrender the race lead. That moves Dylan Jones to the point, and Comstock is in P2. And now the question becomes, how long do you stay out here? I think if you're David Comstock, if you're going to go out and stay this late, you need to either run this thing out of gas, or you need to be on pit road the next time by, because now you're going to be giving up critical time on the racetrack to a guy you're racing for a position in the championship 4 with.
We'll see if anything else is left to still be decided in this race, but it certainly looks like 2 factions as Eberhardt has finally come down to the pit lane. You got to wonder if it's going to pay off for him, or if kind of what I was talking about with the race over the weekend, Brian, if you almost got suckered in a race it against the guys around you. I know we said that's the focus. Don't go for the race win. It helps, but your main objective is to race against the other cars. But, you know, when you race against the playoff cars, you got to race against all the playoff cars. That tunnel vision hurts.
It really does. Wow, Jason Jacoby is all the way down on the apron. He was down by the inside wall passing all these cars that are on older tires and did a great job doing so. Just absolutely incredible how fast he was right there. Now I'm starting to question if these guys maybe could try to stretch this thing to the end. I don't think they can. It's a very long ways to go to try to stretch it from their last pit stop. They pitted on lap 45, went back green on lap 47. That would be 78 laps they would have to go without coming to pit road for tires or fuel I don't think they can stretch it 78 laps. It would be very, very close. We're getting to that point of the run where I think they're almost out of gas. I could be wrong about that, but I don't see you going much more than about 60, 65 laps here on a tank of gas. But if you're David Comstock, maybe it's worth a gamble. Stay out here, see if you can stretch this thing, make it to the end on fuel. It might be your best shot to do something and maybe make it into the Final Four. These guys at this point, they're giving up so much time on the racetrack. There is no sense in not running this thing out of gas if you're David Comstock and Dylan Jones. And this is a battle for the race lead. This could be a battle for a spot in the championship if you're David Comstock, as he is battling hard on the inside of that number 11 car, trying to take that race lead back.
Tries to go back down to the inside is Michael Cozy Jr. in the 77, ends up in front of these cars. Look at the speed difference. Look at Eberhard. This was a 3-car battle 10 laps ago. The 90 left him, decided to pit. And look how much faster he is on those tires. Even if these drivers could make it to the end, I think Brandon Bowie would still pass them. He's only 9.5 seconds behind in the number 4 position. Ross Cato, not a playoff driver, scored behind him in 5th position. Another car who is yet to come down to the pit lane. And then you've got Andrew Farinars, who may be next one due up. He's behind Bowie. This could be it. As he looks to the inside, he pitted on lap 89. Fresher tires for the 88. He came into tonight 6th in the points, and he wants to go for the win, and he'll pass Bowie for what right now is 4th on track. But what a caution-free 24 laps would mean would be a battle for the race win.
And it's not going to be much of a battle at all, is because he has moved well ahead of that 43 car, and now the question becomes, he is 7.6 seconds behind Michael Cozy Jr. He is only about 6 seconds behind David Comstock. I don't think it's a matter of if, it's a matter of how long does it take for him to catch those two drivers and pass them. He's running over a full second of a lap quicker. So now if you're David Comstock, if you're Michael Cozy Jr., your only bet is to hope for a caution at this point of the run. That's your only chance at being able to make it in here and give yourself a spot in the Final Four. It's going to be very difficult for either of these drivers to be able to hold off Andrew Farinars. He just gained a whole nother second on both of them right there, so definitely well on his way to running down these guys. But Comstock is fighting for his virtual life, and now you have to almost wonder if maybe he's just going to try to run this thing out and try to beat Daniel Eberhard. He's only got to beat Daniel by 3 positions on the racetrack. If he can do that, it doesn't really matter what happens with Andrew Farinars. Farinars can go up here and win this race. Comstock would still actually get one of those Final Four spots.
If Farinars goes on to get the race win, he would be in the battle then again, as you mentioned, would between Eberhard and Comstock. Comstock needs to get him by at least 3 spots. He's 2nd right now. Eberhard is way down in 11th. But I think the primary concern is, do you even have enough fuel to get that deep into this race? Can you get to the end? This time by 21 laps to go from ISM Raceway. Michael Cozy Jr. eliminated for the playoffs last round, just missed the cut. Finished 13th position, only the top 12, I should say, sorry. Finished 9th, only the top 8 were able to make it through for the 77 car. He is way trying to stretch this thing. Comstock also doing the same thing. Dylan Jones, doesn't matter what happens with him. Farinars the key, and he is caught up to Comstock. Battle for 2nd inbound. Cozy gives up. He has to pit, so this is the battle for the race lead. Outside, and it is not even close. Andrew Farinars back to P1.
Andrew Farinars back to the race lead. Comstock back to P2, but Comstock's not worried about that. If you can listen to his onboard, he is currently clutching this car in the middle of the corner. He's basically completely shutting that thing off all the way through the corner, just coasting around this racetrack. He's giving up a ton of time, but he is trying to save enough fuel to make it to lap 125. And right now, it doesn't matter what the 88 car is doing. This would put him in the championship 4. He has well over 3 positions over that number 90 car, and if he can hold on for another 18 laps, this could potentially put him into the championship 4 for the 2nd year in a row. Our defending series champion, Evan Soko, has not had the year that he expected, just 1 win on the season, but he could potentially have a chance to defend that championship here next week.
He just have a chance if he's able to hold on, but he is way slow. As the 45 of Carl Shed from a lap down in 12th position relatively easily works his way on by and through him. And back to the point of Farinars, who's going to run away with this thing now. Almost like we dared him, Brian, coming into the night, mentioning the fact that he was only -1 point. Yeah, but below the cut line. Worst he's ever finished in a round in 2018. It had been second. He won the round of 16, finished second in the round of 12. If he wins tonight, he'll finish third. Still a race win. It's still a ticket in, but I mean, still his worst round of the year. And if a worst round of the year is enough to get you to the championship 4, that's scary. And it's almost like 49ers heard that challenge and came to it tonight. And oftentimes when you see a race like this where somebody just ends up so much better, such a better position at the end of the race, they're the ones who pulled off the miraculous strategy. I really don't think 49ers was the one that gambled. It's almost like, Brian, everybody else gambled themselves out of this race, and he just had confidence in himself.
Well, I don't think 49ers had to gamble. He knew he had the fastest car here tonight. He knew that all he had to do was do what he's done all year long. Go out there, win the pole, lead the most laps, try to win the race. He didn't get the pole, but he started up in the 3rd position. He went to the lead very early. He's definitely dominated this race and led the most laps. Now it's just about trying to hang on and not have any issues. We're down to 15 laps to go. You cannot make any mistakes. No issues on the racetrack. You see the Comstock machine. He is still clutching. You can hear right here, that car is completely shut off in the middle of the corner. He turns it back on about halfway through the corner, gets back into the gas, trying to do everything he can to save fuel. But he just gave up one really critical position on the racetrack. He just let the 43 car of Brandon Bowie get by him. That could come back to haunt him because Daniel Eberhardt is coming. He's up to 8th. If Daniel Eberhardt gets up to the 6th position, the tiebreaker would be very interesting because they would both have a 3rd place finish in this round. Evan Pasoko, I don't know if you know better what the next tiebreaker procedure would be, but right now that would be very interesting if Eberhardt got the 6th.
Yeah, we'd have to crack out the books on that one. It's rare enough that you see a tie at all. And then, of course, what are the odds that it would have to go to a 2nd tiebreaker? All of this, though, assuming that David Comstock would still finish in 3rd to match the 3rd place finish of Eberhardt. I don't know if that's going to happen. Dylan Jones, and to be fair, the 11 in the same boat as him, so they can't race all that much different than one another. But Dylan Jones is right there also to back bumper. They could end up finding each other almost inadvertently as they both try to see who can save the most.
And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens between these two drivers. And looking at Daniel Eberhardt, he's about to make a pass to move into the 7th position. That is on Ross Cato. So now if he can get to P6, which is Jason Jacoby, who's 3 seconds ahead of him, and then he's got David Washington, Dylan Jones ahead of that. If he can catch any of those drivers in the next 15 laps, that would put him in the 6th position and would give them a tie for that 4th and final spot into the next round. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. He's 3 seconds behind Jason Jacoby, and I don't think he's going to run down that 7 car because they both are on the same strategy. They came to pit road. They got fresh tires. They're running very similar lap times. Now the question is going to be, can he run down the 98 or the 11 or the 42? David Washington's getting ready to take a position away from that 42 car of David Comstock. So now, right now, the tie would be between David Comstock and Daniel Eberhardt. The problem is, now it looks like here comes Jason Jacoby trying to take their spots away. This is big for Comstock. He cannot give up these positions, but it looks like he's in big trouble right here as they go down into 3.
He almost doesn't have a choice. Oh, and almost contact as Jacoby gets pinched out of the middle. It is Dylan Jones up at 42. Look how low the 7 car is. Still 3 wide in a fight for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And Jason Jacoby trying to get through now. Contact with Jones and Comstock loses both of those spots. He'll fall to P6. That effectively takes him out of the points.
Yeah, losing those 2 spots, now he's just 1 position ahead of Daniel Eberhardt on the racetrack. So unless we get a caution, now he's in dire need or in dire trouble of not making it into the championship 4. But you have to applaud the effort of that 42 car, taking this chance, going out here, trying to save fuel, see if he could stretch it out. But now, unfortunately, it's not going to work out because Eberhardt is on his back bumper and coming off turn 2 is going to make the move to pass that 42 car. And now it looks like the hopes for that 42 car to defend his series championship are fading away quicker and quicker. If we don't get a caution in the next 3 laps, he's not even going to have a chance to try to make something happen in this race because we're going to be at that point where we will not get a restart. We're down to just 7 laps left in this thing.
Just 7 laps to go from ISM, of course. Always got to point out 4 laps to go or less left in the race means. And of course, it is the point of no return. Not that you think a yellow flag is going to come out late, but you never know. The only one that we have seen tonight was for an issue with Daniel Funkadam. Realized that he was having a connection problem. He dropped connection from the sim, but in doing so, and he did the right thing in all honesty, Brian. He pulls over, stops, gets off for the racetrack, but it did trigger a caution. Other than that, incident-free. We've seen a little bit of sheet metal get rubbed up, but It's been a very good race thus far.
Absolutely been a very clean race, a very aggressive race, though, at the same time, as we see a battle for third position going on. Jason Jacoby's trying to pass the number 98 of David Washington. He's down on the bottom of the racetrack, running all the way down on the apron. He's been doing that all night long. Why not keep doing it at this point? He's got a lot of grip down there, but it's not going to work to pass the 98 car. He's going to have to work a little bit harder if he wants to take that third position away from the number 98 car here. Just trying to do everything he can at this point, but how about Andrew Freenar's, the drive that he has had here tonight? He has just driven away from this field 8.2 seconds as we get down inside the final 5 laps, and he is well on his way to making himself a spot in the Final Four at Miami next week.
5 more laps to go, and it is going to be closed out for Andrew Freenars. Can't say you doubted him. You had a little bit of wavering support, most likely. Of course, 4 races is the longest that Freenars has gone without a race win since July 2nd. That was the last time he started a 4-race streak without a trip to victory lane. So it has been quite a trip for Andrew Freenars on 2018. Spencer Preet going to go up and get out of the way. And the 88 machine says, thanks very much over the radio, Spencer Preet. Somebody else needed to go to run tonight, running in 11th position. Doesn't look like he will advance into the championship 4. So this time by 3 more on the board. Freenars trying to close out this Phoenix 125. Again, looks like his race win, as of now, puts him through and into the next round. And Daniel Eberhardt right now in 5th position is completely past Comstock as a 42. Admitted he wasn't going to be able to make it, came in on fuel. Unofficially, those look like our final 2 drivers. We'll see. Bowie right there as well. Scored in the number 2 position, of course, with his race win. And then the other driver all the way back a little bit further down the running order. Actually trying to find him. Dylan Jones way down now in 11th position as there's a slow car. Ross Cato's out of fuel and he's limping to pit road.
Yeah, all these drivers that were trying to save the fuel to get to the end did not make it. Dylan Jones wasn't able to do it. Ross Cato, David Comstock, none of those drivers were able to do it, but a valiant effort by all of them. 2 laps to go right now, actually about a lap and a quarter, as Andrew Freenars is down here in 3 and 4 coming to the white flag. He's got about a mile to go to secure himself a spot in the championship 4 at Miami.
White flag in the air last time around. Andrew Freenars, the best driver arguably all season long, with what this would mark his 10th win of 2018. It would be obviously a series best, and most importantly, for one of the first times all year, he found himself on the outside looking in, brought a dominant race car, and is going to pack it on the track to Homestead. Final time at a 4. Freenars walks it off, wins from Phoenix, and he's moving on to the championship 4.
Absolutely incredible drive, and as he comes down, Brandon Bowie will get the 2nd place finish here at ISM Raceway. Jason Jacoby looks like he's going to come home 3rd. But how about the championship 4 we have set up for you now with Andrew Freenars, Brandon Bowie, Dylan Jones, and Daniel Eberhardt being your championship 4. It's going to be an absolute brawl next week at Homestead, Miami.
It'll be a fun one. Of course, we'll wait on the points to be official, but it looks like it is going to be Freenars with the win. And potentially, of course, Eberhardt on the points after bad luck, connection issues. Guerrilla no power. Falkenham drops out of the race. Those 2 drivers, 4th and 5th, don't even get a shot at it. And it is defense for the 90 car. That should be enough. But Freenars is burning it down on the front straightaway. 10 wins on 2018. We'll take one more opportunity to step aside and come back for the post-race show, where we'll talk with him next. Freenars, your Phoenix 125 winner. You're watching LSR TV's coverage of the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series on the iRacing Esports Network.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. And back live from the ISM Raceway for the LSR TV post-race show. Following tonight's Phoenix 125, Andrew Ferrin, our Jettigator race winner. It'll move him on in the playoffs. We'll get to that in a moment. First, as we welcome you back inside the LSR TV booth, Evan Pasoka, Brian Macklin with you, with Brett Wheeler in the production trailer. We will look top to bottom. These are your LSR TV full race results for round number 29. Ferrinars gets the win. Bowie comes home runner-up second, and Jason Jacoby another podium. Those are the drivers who we will be trackside with in just a moment. Daniel Eberhardt misses out on that, but it'll be good enough. P4 moving on as he finishes in front of Dave Washington 5th, along with Shane Parrish, Kyle Kamer, Michael Cozy Jr., and Carl Shedd 6, 7, 8, 9. Final car on the lead lap was Carl Shedd in that 45. Spencer Preet around this one out a lap down, in 10th.
A handful of our playoff contenders finish outside of the top 10 here tonight. Dylan Jones is the first of those. He finishes P11. He's still guaranteed a spot into the championship for next week at Homestead, Miami. David Comstock tried to stretch it on fuel, tried to throw the Hail Mary to see if he could make it into the championship for. Unfortunately, he's going to come up 11 points short. He'll finish P12 here tonight. Ross Cato also ran out of gas right at the end. He finishes P13, and Daniel Falkingham having those connection issues early when he was running up in the second position. He too does not advance to the championship for at Miami. He will finish 14th here tonight, and he wraps up our 14-car field here at the ISM Raceway. Now, Evan Pasoko, you caught up with our race winner. I feel like you've talked to this guy quite a few times down here in Victory Lane. You get to do it one more time down here tonight.
He hits double digits, win number 10 on 2018 for Andrew Ferrinars, but it may just be the most timely one of this Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series campaign. Winner tonight from ISM. We're now with the driver of the 88 machine. Andrew, congratulations. I mean, all you did tonight was not qualify on a pole. Other than that, you had the spread covered. That car was bad fast, and it almost looked like everybody else strategied themselves out of this race, trying to go way short, way long. You guys stayed in the middle there and let the speed talk. Congratulations.
Woo! Going to Homestead. How about that? This game was so much work. I mean, probably over 2,000 laps, man. The last two races, we've had good cars. Last week with gas and Martinsville, I took myself out, really. You know, got caught up in a wreck there with my teammates spinning the tires. I came in today really thinking we had to win, and I didn't think we had that good of a car. I know it was good, but man, I'm so excited, so happy. I can't believe it.
You saw you coming into this one, and you mentioned that you needed it 1 point down. Not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly being in the gray is uncharted territory. You guys win the round of 16, you finish second at the round of 12, and a couple of bad weeks back-to-back when it is the tightest of the margin all season long. Did you feel that pressure being in a spot that you hadn't been in that inspire you to give it a little bit extra tonight?
Oh, yeah. I was pacing around my living room before this race started. I was nervous as nervous gets. You know, I knew I put in the time. I think we did over 2,000 laps of practice at least to get ready. And, you know, we really did that 2 weeks ago. We touched up on it this week. Practice all today. You know, I was still extremely nervous because anything can happen. It's a short track. You get wrecked or whatever. And, you know, caution could have came out when we were catching everybody after that pit stop. I was a nervous wreck, to be honest. I don't know how I was able to keep the car straight and pull it off. But, you know, being down, we actually started the year. We got wrecked the first 6 races of the year. That's hard to believe. We had 6 points after the first 6 races. So to come back and make the Final Four, to have 10 wins, it's been incredible. And I can't thank this team enough.
You're going to be moving on to fight for the championship alongside Brandon, Dylan, and it looks like as well Daniel Eberhardt going to be the driver that gets in on points. Homestead hasn't changed since we've seen it last, but certainly circumstances and all of that going to be swirling. You have an opportunity to become a 2018 champion 7 days from now when we head to the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway. Andrew, what's the next 6 days going to be like, and what do you do once you get there to make sure it happens?
You know, tonight is celebration time. I need to take all that stress and just get it out. and probably will practice tomorrow some for Homestead. I know I think I ran 26 A-Fix races here, and we ran one NIS race. It's over about 1,600 laps we've already done. So it's just really gonna throughout the week run practices, try to keep up on what we had and the speed we had there. I struggled in qualifying, so we gotta work on that. Obviously Thursday, happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and Friday might go shopping, and Saturday and Sunday it's gonna be just grinding out lap after lap to see what we can pull out.
Well, you've had now 10 opportunities to do this, and hopefully for your sake, it is the second to last time. But from Victory Lane and to sponsors and shout-outs, it makes it happen to put that car into Victory Lane tonight to move on to the Championship 4.
First, I really want to say congrats to Daniel Everhart, Dylan Jones, and Brandon Bowie. These strengths of fields in this series, it's extremely hard to win, extremely hard to go out and run good every week. So congratulations to those three. I know two of them are my teammates, but Bowie as well. It's not easy to get here, and really pat them on the back. I got to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast, Evan for all you do for this league, my dad, my grandpa, my brother for putting the computers together. Everybody on Aegis, Dave Washington, Dylan Jones, Kyle Kammer, Shane Parrish, Daniel, as I said before. Just everybody on there. I know I'm forgetting a few people. All the fans for watching, and that's really about it.
10 wins on 2018. Hopefully one more is in the cards. And, I mean, you don't have to win that race, but when you look at the competition, the best of those four is going to go on, Andrew, and you've got just as good a shot as any. Enjoy your night of celebrating. Enjoy Thanksgiving with the fam, and we'll catch you next Monday night. Best of luck, sir.
Thanks so much. Woo! Final four!
The race winner tonight for the ISM Raceway clutch win, Andrew Ferdinand's moving on as he punches his ticket tonight from the Phoenix Desert. Second place finish tonight belongs to Brandon Bowie. His fate was already known, but it's always good for him, and a good run tonight may keep the momentum up as he goes into Homestead as another one of the Championship 4 drivers, but he's second place tonight, and he's also trackside right now with Brian.
Yep, down here with Brandon Bowie. Brandon, you knew coming into tonight you were into the Championship 4 in Miami, so it was just a night for gamble and to see if you could go out there and steal a win from Andrew Freenars. You pitted earlier than everybody else, and you took 2 tires. Unfortunately, it did not pan out with a victory, but it's still a very solid second place finish. Take us through your night tonight.
Yeah, I mean, basically you said exactly what I did. I tried to do a little strategy, try to change up some things a little bit. Tried the 2 tires, which actually it felt a lot better on 2 tires than the 4 tires. I don't know what was different compared to from testing, but something was really different from what my feeling of it. Everything just felt tight and plowing. So 2 tires was the thing to do, and it solidly got me a second place. I knew I wasn't gonna be able to do anything with Andrew. Andrew was fast from the very get-go of the race, so the goal was just to try something, and if caution fell my way, then great, and we would basically just see how it went from there.
And with 3 wins on the season, obviously you've had a pretty solid season this year. And if we look back to last year in the season finale race, you won at Homestead Miami Speedway. Of course, it wasn't for a championship, but still, that's got to be in the back of your head, knowing that you were able to go into that race last year and win. How confident do you feel you can back that up next week when we go to Homestead again?
I'm actually pretty good. I'm pretty confident that I can do the exact same thing. Just go into it with a clear mind frame, and just know that the only goal is to win. Not finish second, third, fourth. You just go out there and win and do whatever it takes. It's gonna be hard racing those guys. I know they're fast. If I know correctly, then it's 3 versus 1, which it's not going to be the easiest thing, but David Comstock did it last year. So hopefully I plan to get a little bit of advice from him. See if he can tell me what he did and learn how his little maybe tricks or fuel saving things he can do, and go from there.
It's going to be a very interesting race for sure. Before we let you go, Brandon, sponsor shout outs. Who makes it happen for you on the 43 car?
Yep, got to thank RacingBids.com. Great sponsor. Go check them out. They offer and sell memorabilia for NASCAR, IndyCar, any type of racing. They have that. Also have a Facebook page where they do live auctions. It's a great way to get some good memorabilia. Gotta also thank Commodore's Garage for coming on board. Taught me a lot about racing craft and settings and stuff like that. You know, got to thank the guys who basically help me every week, every Monday. They know who they are. Got to thank family. Got to thank you guys. I know we're coming to the end of the season. So thanks you guys for continuing to put on the broadcast. And that's about it.
Well, congrats on your good run here tonight, Brandon, and we look forward to seeing what you're able to do next week in Homestead Miami.
All right, thanks, Brian.
Second place finisher tonight, Brandon Bowie, already locked into the championship 4. Now he sets his attention to trying to win the championship next week. Now we're going to switch gears completely, catch up with a driver who has absolutely nothing to do with the championship battle. Third place finisher, Jason Jacoby. Jason, you were fast all night long. Not quite quick enough to go up there and challenge for the victory, but still a solid night nonetheless.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it, but I cannot praise Andrew enough. I mean, it's very seldom you get to race a guy that fast and that dominant this season. It's been a blast running RSR, and I want to thank Evan and everyone who puts the league together, everyone who watches the races first and foremost. But I had a blast out there, and one of my goals when sim racing is just to make it exciting. So there was some close racing with a lot of guys, but there was no catching Andrew unless I had probably actually decided to practice before these things, before the server goes live. So maybe I need to get some practice in, but once again, cannot praise Andrew enough and a lot of his teammates for being as fast as they are.
And we saw you running a very unique line, a line that nobody else was doing. Down in 3 and 4, you were running all the way down on the apron, at times almost all the way down against the inside wall. Was there enough grip down there for that to make it work all night? Because it seemed like you were the only driver that was able to go down there and find anything.
You know, especially when it came toward the end and we were passing guys with the older tires, that one was a given because how old their tires were. But as far as cutting the corner off of 4 onto the front stretch, that's something that just, it felt good to me. And I had one lap of practice doing that before qualifying. I was underneath Brandon Bowie, and I'm like, okay, this thing will stick if you just don't get too crazy with the wheel. If you start jerking the wheel around too much, the car would want to spin. But if you kind of get really smooth at that part of the racetrack with it, you're going to be just fine off the corner, and it worked out well.
And obviously, Jason, you're not racing for anything other than a victory. When we head to Homestead Miami next week, how aggressive are you going to be behind the wheel to try to get up there and steal the show away from these Championship 4 drivers and maybe end the season on a high note with a victory?
I'd love to put on a good show and race close with everybody. You know, I don't think I'm going to practice like usual. Just come into the server about 30 minutes before qualifying, get some laps in, and I know the other guys practice so much, which is awesome. I just don't put the time in. Even when I do have the time, it's just something I don't put the time toward. And you know, I'm just going to go out there and run and try to run up in the top 5. You know, top 8 or so. These guys, I know they're going to be well practiced and versed for next week, but my main goal is to put on a show for everyone watching, and that's just, I think that's what it's all about, is just making an exciting race of it.
Absolutely, and we can't wait to see how exciting that race is going to be next week. Sponsor shout-outs, who makes it happen for on the 88, or on the 7 car rather, Jason?
Thanks, Brian. Well, my YouTube channel, anyone after this broadcast, feel free to head on over. Feel free to subscribe to youtube.com/jjacoby88. Cannot thank my awesome viewers enough, and once again, the viewers on iRacing Esports Network, and hope to be talking with you guys after the race next week.
All right, congratulations on your 3rd place finish here tonight. We look forward to seeing what you're able to do next week in Miami.
Thanks, Brian. See you guys.
That was our 3rd place finisher, Jason Jacoby. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. He's going for victories every single week. Didn't get it here tonight, Evan Pasoko, but a great race nonetheless. But now we have to turn our attention to Homestead Miami Speedway. 4 drivers racing for a championship: Dylan Jones, Daniel Eberhardt, Andrew Vreenarge, and Brandon Bowie. One of those drivers will be crowned our Full Throttle Cup Series champion in 1 week's time.
And of course, it was courtesy of race wins for Bowie, then Jones, and now Vreenarge. Eberhardt makes it in by the tally of 11 points on top of Comstock, who was eliminated. And of course, Daniel Falconet with the bad luck tonight has a connection issue. He will end up 6th in the points. Spencer Preet, not a good result as he comes home in 10th position. He is also eliminated, and maybe one of the drivers I feel the worst for is at the very bottom there, Michael Guerrilla, who was in Covenanted tonight, but had no power and therefore wasn't able to race with us this evening. He is also eliminated. We started with 16 drivers fighting for the championship. In fact, if you go all the way back, 59 drivers have made a start in 2018. Only 4 of them have an opportunity now to become our 2018 champion. And as always, it will come down to that winner-take-all finale a week from tonight at the virtual homestead of Miami Speedway.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see how this championship battle plays out. I think the obvious favorite is Andrew Freenars, just because of how dominant he has been. 10 wins on the season to this point, and you have to believe he's going to be looking for a win number 11 next week, which would also give him the championship. But I'm not going to hand this thing to him, because his two teammates, Daniel Eberhardt, Dylan Jones, are also very, very good at the mile and a half. I think Dylan Jones maybe hasn't been running as good as he would like, but definitely is a driver that could be a factor in this thing. He went on a run of 4 in a row earlier in the year, and he was actually the fastest driver down in Homestead Miami Speedway last year. He led the most laps, leading 44 of the laps last year, so definitely got to look at him as a threat. And then you cannot count out Brandon Bowie, who did go to Victory Lane last year at the Homestead Miami Speedway. You have to believe he could back that up, and if he can, he's also going to walk away a champion.
And you have to think momentum's key, but it could all change. Depends on what happens over the next 6 days of practice, how you queue, and of course how that race starts. You are not going to want to miss that one a week from tonight right here, LSR TV and the iRacing Sports Network. The good news is you don't have to wait until then to catch more live sim racing action. Sesra is off for the week, of course, on Thanksgiving. We hope everybody enjoys that, but also we hope you're with us on Wednesday, right back here, LSR TV and the network, as we get another championship foretaste, as it is the finale race for the eSpeed Contender Series. You're not going to want to miss that one. It is a 9 o'clock Eastern Time start right here. And then, of course, we'll catch you back on Monday next week for the finale. You can get a full look at our upcoming broadcast schedule as we head into the slow winter months here. Go to RealSimRacing.com. We'll have Sesra action every Thursday all the way through. But, of course, you can get involved at RealSimRacing.com. Keep up to date with us on social media. Give us a like at Facebook.com/LSRTV official. And, of course, you can also follow us on Twitter at LSRTV for more information. On behalf of our entire team behind the scenes, the folks who make this thing happen in the booth night in and night out, and, of course, for your team tonight. For myself, Evan Pasoko, Brian Backlund, and Brett Wheeler, we want to thank you for tuning in. Congratulations not only to tonight's race winner, Andrew Farinars, but as well to Brandon Bowie, Dylan Jones, and Daniel Eberhardt. They are your championship 4, and they will fight for the title next Monday night on November the 26th as the finale for the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series, going to be found right here on LSR TV and the iRacing Esports Network. Until next time, good night from Phoenix. The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSR TV, your home for sim racing.